Stranger Things, Season 1, Episode 1. The Vanishing of Will Byers. In a small town called Hawkins, Indiana, it's 1983. The story begins in a secretive lab where a scientist is running away from something terrifying. He manages to reach the elevator, but just as the doors close, a monster catches him. Meanwhile, we meet four boys: Mike, Lucas, Dustin, and Will. They are best friends and love playing games together in Mike's basement. After a fun evening of playing, they all head home. Will rides his bike through the dark woods, but something strange happens. He sees a mysterious creature and crashes his bike. Scared and confused, Will runs to his house, but no one is there. He tries to use the phone, but it's not working. In a panic, he hides in the shed, but the monster finds him, and Will suddenly vanishes. The next morning, Joyce Byers, Will's mom, realizes that her son didn't come home. Worried, she calls the police. Chief Hopper, the local sheriff, starts the search for Will. Joyce is very upset and believes something terrible has happened. Jonathan, Will's older brother, also helps in looking for him. At Mike's house, we meet his family, his sister Nancy, his mom Karen, and his dad Ted. They discuss Will's disappearance, and Mike decides he wants to help find his friend. In the woods, a girl with a shaved head, who we'll come to know as 11, is seen. She is alone and scared, stealing food from a diner. The owner, Benny, finds her but treats her kindly. Benny calls social services for help, but a dangerous woman shows up and kills him. 11 escapes and runs into the woods. Mike, Lucas, and Dustin are determined to find Will. They go into the woods and, instead of finding Will, they find 11. She's scared and alone, so they take her to Mike's house. They hide her in the basement and try to figure out who she is. 11 recognizes a photo of Will and says, "Bad," indicating she knows something about his disappearance. Meanwhile, Chief Hopper finds Will's bike abandoned in the woods, but there's no sign of Will. Joyce gets strange phone calls with odd noises and hears what she thinks is Will's faint voice, making her even more frantic. At the lab, Dr. Brenner is shown to be looking for 11. The lab is involved in secret experiments, and it's clear they have something to do with the monster. The boys continue to talk to 11, trying to understand what she knows. She points to a picture of Will and says, "Bad," suggesting she knows something about what happened to him. The episode ends with many mysteries: the disappearance of Will, the identity of 11, and the frightening events in Hawkins. The boys are determined to uncover the truth and find their friend. Welcome to the channel, guys. Here we are doing a recap of Strange Things series, one of the greatest series in the world. I will give my first place to this, and comment yours. Let's go into the story. Episode 2. The Weirdo on Maple Street. The episode begins with Mike, Lucas, and Dustin bringing the mysterious girl, 11, to Mike's house. She's frightened and confused, unable to speak much. The boys try to make sense of who she is and why she's alone in the woods. 11 is different. She has a shaved head and a hospital gown, which makes the boys even more curious. As morning comes, Mike decides to hide 11 in his basement. He gives her food and clothes, and she seems to trust him. Mike's mother nearly discovers 11, but Mike manages to keep her hidden just in time. Before leaving for school, Mike instructs 11 to stay hidden and promises to return soon. At school, Mike, Lucas, and Dustin discuss their plan. They decide they need to find out more about 11 and how she might be connected to their missing friend, Will. Meanwhile, Chief Hopper is investigating Will's disappearance. He visits Joyce, Will's mother, and his older brother, Jonathan. Joyce is frantic and insists that something strange is going on, but Hopper tries to calm her down, thinking it's just the stress. Back at Hawkins' lab, Dr. Brenner and his team are searching for 11. They realize she's escaped and are determined to find her. They know she has special abilities and are worried about what could happen if she's found by the wrong people. After school, Mike returns home and spends time with 11, showing her his toys and trying to make her feel safe. 11 slowly begins to open up, hinting at her traumatic past in the lab. She uses a makeshift board to show Mike that Will is in danger and that she knows where he might be. Joyce, on the other hand, starts experiencing strange occurrences in her house. She hears Will's voice over the phone and sees the lights flickering. Convinced that Will is trying to communicate with her, she sets up Christmas lights around the house, hoping to decode his messages. As night falls, Mike, Lucas, and Dustin decide to go searching for Will. They take 11 with them, believing she might lead them to him. They venture into the woods, driven by their determination and friendship. Suddenly, they hear a noise and hide. They see the police retrieving a body from the river. Everyone believes it's Will, but 11 shakes her head, indicating that it's not him. The episode concludes with Joyce refusing to accept that Will is dead. She uses the Christmas lights to communicate with him, and they light up, spelling out messages that confirm her belief. The boys are left confused and heartbroken, while 11 knows there is more to uncover. This episode deepens the mystery of 11's origins, the strange happenings in Hawkins, and the boys' quest to find their missing friend, Will. Episode 3. Holly Jolly. The episode begins with a sense of despair. The boys are devastated by the news of the body found in the water, believing it to be their friend, Will. Mike is especially upset, feeling betrayed by 11, who had assured them that Will was still alive. He lashes out at her and retreats to his room. Meanwhile, Joyce is more convinced than ever that her son is alive and trying to communicate with her through the lights. She arranges the Christmas lights around the house and paints a large alphabet on the wall, using the lights to spell out messages from Will. She asks where he is, and the lights spell out, "Right here," and then "Run," as something unseen tears through the wall. At Hawkins' lab, Dr. Brenner and his team are intensifying their search for 11. They discover a hole in the fence where she escaped and find a bloody hospital gown, indicating that she's not far. Back at Mike's house, 11 uses her powers to show Mike a vision of Will hiding in a dark place, confirming that he's still alive. This renews Mike's determination to find his friend. He apologizes to 11, and the boys decide to keep searching for Will. At the police station, Chief Hopper begins to suspect that there's more to Will's disappearance than meets the eye. He examines the body found in the water and starts to notice inconsistencies. Determined to uncover the truth, he breaks into the morgue and finds that the body is a fake, stuffed with cotton. Nancy is also dealing with her own troubles. She's worried about her friend Barb, who disappeared after the party at Steve's house. She confides in Steve, but he dismisses her concerns, focusing instead on their relationship. Nancy goes to the woods to search for Barb, feeling guilty for leaving her alone at the party. At Joyce's house, she is still trying to communicate with Will. She uses the lights to spell out more messages and becomes increasingly frantic as she realizes the danger her son is in. Jonathan, her older son, tries to support her but is also deeply worried and skeptical. The episode ends on a cliffhanger. Nancy ventures deeper into the woods and discovers Barb's car. She is horrified to see a creature in the distance, which quickly disappears. Meanwhile, Chief Hopper's investigation leads him to Hawkins' lab, where he begins to uncover the sinister experiments being conducted. This episode heightens the tension and deepens the mystery, showing the characters' growing determination to uncover the truth about what's happening in Hawkins and find their missing friends. Episode 4. The Body. The episode begins with the revelation that the body found in the water was a fake. Chief Hopper, now more suspicious than ever, is determined to uncover the truth behind Will's disappearance and the strange occurrences in Hawkins. At the police station, Hopper confronts the coroner, who admits that state officials took over the autopsy. Hopper then breaks into the morgue and confirms his suspicions that the body is a dummy, stuffed with cotton. Back at Mike's house, 11 uses her powers to connect to Will. She enters a trance-like state and starts hearing Will's voice. He tells her he's hiding from a monster in a dark, cold place. The boys realize that Will is alive but trapped in another dimension, which they call the Upside Down. Meanwhile, Joyce becomes more frantic, convinced that Will is trying to communicate with her through the lights. She hears his voice through the walls and uses an axe to break through, but finds nothing. Jonathan is worried about her sanity, but he also starts to believe that something supernatural is happening. Nancy is still searching for Barb, feeling guilty for leaving her alone at Steve's party. She tells the police about Barb's disappearance, but they don't take her seriously. Determined to find her friend, Nancy returns to Steve's house and finds Barb's car still parked there. She then discovers a strange, oozing substance in the backyard. Hopper continues his investigation and discovers that Hawkins' lab has a history of conducting experiments on children. He breaks into the lab and finds evidence of the secretive and dangerous experiments, but he is caught and forced to leave. At school, the boys develop a plan to create a sensory deprivation tank to help Eleven strengthen her powers and communicate with Will more effectively. They gather supplies and set up the tank in the school gym. 11 enters the tank and makes a stronger connection with Will, who tells her that the monster is getting closer. Joyce's belief in Will's survival is vindicated when she makes contact with him through the lights again. She uses a large string of Christmas lights to communicate and gets a clearer message. Will is hiding in the Upside Down, a dark and twisted version of their world. The episode ends with Nancy following a trail of blood in the woods, leading her to a strange, tree-like portal. She bravely crawls through it and finds herself in the Upside Down, a terrifying, mirror image of Hawkins. She sees the monster and hears Barb screaming for help. Terrified, Nancy tries to escape back to the real world. This episode deepens the mystery and tension, as characters begin to uncover the dark secrets of Hawkins' lab and the existence of the Upside Down. The connections between the characters' storylines become clearer, setting the stage for the coming confrontations with the supernatural forces at play.